Good morning and welcome. I love the enthusiasm and the fellowship and whatnot, and I just suggest that after our meeting you have Sunday barbecue for lunch and continue on with that. A little business here this morning. Good morning, I'm Brad Fink, I'm the chairman of the 21st Century Partnership, and I want to welcome you all to the June partnership meeting. We've got some good stuff to cover that Chrissy will hit, and but let's get it kicked off. I know everybody's busy. A couple I know have to leave early. We appreciate you guys coming out today. Let's get started. Jack, if you'll lead us in the pledge and the prayer, please.
Let us stand so we'll be ready for the pledge. Let us pray. Dear God, we are grateful for this beautiful day that you have made and for the opportunity to work together to enhance the military value of Robins Air Force Base and the resiliency of Middle Georgia. We ask that you guide and lead the members of the 21st Century Partnership and its leaders as we work to carry out the partnership's mission. May we work together adroitly and with determination. We pray for the members of our armed forces, protect and defend them as they protect and defend us. Sustain and heal the wounded, and bless those who have gallantly given their last full measure of devotion. We shall honor them always. May our country under your providence be an influence throughout the world, uniting all humanity in peace and freedom. Inspire us to improve our communities and the world. In His holy name we pray, and together we say, Amen. Amen. Please join with me in pledging allegiance to the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Jack. Was Todd Gibbs able to speak in? I don't see him. I'll tell you what, we've got a financial report. I'll touch base from the partnership side. Beginning balance says March 1st, 2014. Morning, gentlemen. $112,260. Contributions to give us a final balance, or a pending balance of $178,000 and $131,000 in expenditures, leaving us a balance of $47,000 in that account. And Laura, if you will highlight the governmental account.
Yes, from the Middle Georgia Economic Partnership, we had a beginning balance of the period of $4,309. Had revenues and member contributions and bank interest of $72,771.62, and expenditures of $50,000, leaving a balance as of today of $27,080.62.
Very good. Any questions there? All right, thank you, Laura. Obviously, we were had our breath taken away a little bit back in April, as Sean Mann had taken a venture that I think led him to his passion, and that's logistics. So with a partnership without a president and CEO, we formed a search committee. I want to give you a quick update on that. The committee members we selected had traveled to D.C. in February to meet with the congressional delegation and several meetings with in the Pentagon, and saw firsthand what the partnership and Robins is, the challenges that we're facing in the future here. Those committee members that were selected: Bob Hatcher, Larry Walker, Roy Fickling, and Robin Hines. Again, those gentlemen had a unique perspective with a recent trip to D.C., and that has enlightened them, I think, even more about what the partnership has done and the critical nature of the mission going forward. With that, we convened and we discussed the attributes that we're looking for a CEO, making sure that we were on track with that. A couple highlights there. The attributes we're looking for: trust and confidence within the community, credible with flag officers and equivalents within the DoD, credible with state, local, and federal officials, elected officials, and someone who we project to be a team builder within the partnership and within the community. I think as important as anything, someone who's energetic and humble. You know, as we look for the caliber of person for this job, we've got a great team, but we've got a small team. two and a half, and we pack a punch with that in terms of our paid staff, and then obviously working with volunteers is critical. Another thing that we've looked at too is the ability and the appetite for fundraising, because obviously that's a critical factor for us to be able to accomplish our mission. So with those attributes in mind, we had a prospect list of 40 plus candidates that we called down, worked through. Those candidates were current and past Air Force, Reserve, and Guard flag officers, current and past Robins and DoD civilians, SES level type folks, current and past politicians, and then a handful of community leaders as well. We culled that list down to six potential candidates, and then we began to qualify them for availability, interest, and really a fit at that point in time. We were fortunate enough that the two candidates surfaced to the top, and through late April and May, the committee interviewed them officially and several conversations back and forth. And we've got two candidates that we feel very confident with. This past week, we met with, invited a few political folks and community leaders, big supporters of the partnership, and we had a question and answer with each and a luncheon. And we just finished that earlier this week, and in the next couple of days I'll be looking for feedback from those folks that were able to attend that. And then we will reconvene as a search committee. A couple folks are traveling, but within the next 10 days, and develop our recommendation with that and look to move forward on a new candidate as soon as we can. I'll tell you from the list, it was an impressive list. Having gone through that a couple times before, I think we're fortunate as a community to see who's been able to rise to the top, and we look forward to being able to present that here in the next couple of weeks. So, any questions in general at this point in time? If you will, I'd like to respect the process and not name those two candidates, but you know, if there are any general questions, I'd be glad to answer those about the process or anything along those lines. Very good. All right. Part of what we are doing in terms of the process as far as moving forward, it was important that our team, Chrissy and Judy, were given the support in continuing on with our mission. We've got a great program of work that we're hitting every day, and these folks are on that. Part of what I thought it was important to do, and speaking with Bob Hatcher as well, is to recognize Chrissy as the interim president CEO based on the duties that she's picking up at this point in time, as well as her duties as chief operating officer. But great confidence in our team and great confidence in the support of the community. Again, I'd encourage you, if you've got questions, comments, issues, let us know, let me know, and we're out there fighting each and every day for Robins. But with that, I'll ask Chrissy to give her presentation here.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of the partnership, we appreciate you all being here. Your continued support is vital to the success of this organization and Middle Georgia as a whole. So what I did is broke it up by top issues, ongoing issues, both externally and internal to the partnership. And I just want to touch a little bit on each of these just to give you a flavor of some of the things that we have going on day to day. And believe me, this is not an all-encompassing list, but at least it can give you a flavor of what we are looking at, what is on our radar screen at the current time. So first and foremost right now is the JSTARS recapitalization. Robins Air Force Base has one operational mission, and that is the Joint STARS. It's an active duty and guard partnership and a joint mission. The aircraft is very old and aging, and it's getting to the point where it's cost prohibitive to try to repair those parts and keep that airplane flying. So the Air Force and Congress have put their money where their mouth is and said, we believe in this mission and we believe it's vital to our success and national security. So with that, they are permitting the Air Force to stand down 6 airplanes and crew to reallocate that money and invest in the recapitalization or the purchase of a new airframe for that mission. What that looks like is a smaller business type jet platform. It will still have the same capabilities and possibly some additional capabilities to what we have today, but it will enable us to use this capability in the future. And again, it's for the best of Robinson. It is best for our national security. But I will caution that it will hurt a little bit in the interim, because again, when we talk about 6 aircraft and crews, you're talking roughly around 200 people that are displaced from jobs. And so during that period of time, we're going to be working very diligently with the Guard to make sure that we can ensure that those displaced personnel have a place to go within the Guard. Active duty will likely be sent somewhere else, looking about 90 people for active duty. But for the Guard personnel, we would like to keep them here and find them some other opportunities to do in the interim. Now, the fully operational capacity or capability is looking at 2022 to have the first set of airplanes stood up for the new JSTARS mission. So not only do we have that transition, we also have to keep on our radar to ensure that when they do create that new airplane and that new platform, that they send it right back here to Robins Air Force Base. So we will be sure to stay right on top of that, and that ties right into my second bullet, which is strategic basing. That's a new buzzword in the Air Force. About 2010, they created the process to ensure a fair process when they're bedding down a mission within the Air Force. They have all the installation data of all the installations within the United States. And based upon a new mission and the requirements of that mission, they're plugged into a computer system and it spits out a rack and stack of, with your capabilities and your requirements, here's the bases that would best suit your needs. So that's great, right? Because it's a very apolitical process, you know, right? Well, yes and no. While we applaud the effort, when we look at things such as recapitalization and some other things, you're back in competition with other installations. So it's even more important that we stay on top of our game, and we're doing that. And how are we doing that? Well, when they were looking to base down the KC-46, the new tanker, because we did have a tanker mission here, if you'll recall, we could be a candidate, but point blank, we don't have the infrastructure to support an active duty tanker wing. We didn't have the hangar space. But we did get a scorecard. We made the list. And so we were able to attain a copy of that scorecard thanks to Congressman Scott's office. And it gave us, it was a report card detailing where we did well, where our numbers looked good, and where we needed to work and mitigate those challenges. And unfortunately, it also had some erroneous data. So bad data in equals bad data out. So one of the things we're doing is to ensure that all the infrastructure information that they have on Robins Air Force Base is accurate information and the most up to date. We've gone through a tremendous amount of changes over the last few years within the Department of Defense. But we do have some good capabilities here at Robins Air Force Base, and we need to make sure that those are noted within these scorecards, so when we do compete for missions, we have a good fighting chance. Next slide, please.
What was an example of the inaccurate information?
Some environmental scoring, and the question was it a subjective rating? Obviously, we do have some long-standing environmental concerns just based upon the way that things were done 30, 40 years ago. But there's remediation efforts in place. So again, you can't quite score somebody down for something that you've put a remediation effort in place. So we work something, and also our fueling capabilities. They didn't have the accurate fueling capabilities. We actually have a much larger fueling system than was noted on the score sheet. So things like that. Again, good data in is good data out, and that's what we're going to work with.
Just a note on that, Bill, Chrissy, that data was called from inside the fence.
Absolutely.
And that's where we're engaging to make sure that we've got more accurate information to be able to present Robins in its best light.
We're poking our nose in their business. That's okay. Labor management, as you know, we did have a complete turn in the labor management, or excuse me, in the labor union, first in October and then with a re-election a few months back. We're charting the progress and we're continuing to monitor the quarterly numbers and the hopes. Again, we were very high on the grievance scale, and so working with union and management to ensure that they are embarking on this journey with the sight in mind that is the mission and people are the most important, and we need to make sure that they can work together and have a harmonious relationship, because that's what's going to ensure our viability for the long term. Recently, we discussed production. You saw that in the news where our production numbers were lower than our counterparts in Hill and Tinker. And the good news is that there is a very aggressive plan starting with the F-15. And that plan is to standardize processes more throughout the life cycle of fixing that airplane. So bottom line is folks are more efficient and they have parts ready when they need them and they can just roll them on through. And that's the idea. If we become more efficient, hopefully this is going to go away. Right now they're in a surge to try to make up what they have backlogged over the last year or so. So, yeah, well, I don't have the actual number yet because they won't give it to me, but we'll work on that. But quite frankly, their capability is about 6 airplanes per month. They need to produce 8 to get out of the hole. And I'm highly confident that they're going to do so. Because if you hear, I know for a while, if any of you pay attention, you didn't hear a lot of sonic booms for a while. That was disheartening, because that's the sound of freedom, and that's money in our pocketbook every time you heard one of those sonic booms, because that was its final approach for its check ride. Now, I've heard them a lot more frequently. So I'm feeling a lot better about the process, and I think that they're going to get those numbers back up. And let me point out, weapon systems such as the C-5, they've had like 100% on-time rate for years. So, you know, again, we need to just retwork our processes, but I'm confident we're doing good. And just for your background info, we do expect another complex commander to come in later on this summer. General George has been here for 2 years and done a great job. And so he will be moving on, and they will bring somebody in towards the end of the summer. Next slide.
I mean, just a comment there to answer a little bit of your question. When General Litchfield was in on a visit, I think Morgan was there as well, maybe some others. We toured the F-15 line, and I just wanted to share, number one, General Litchfield was excited about the progress. While the F-15s were at 0, they're climbing, and I think during our visit they're maybe up to 60%, if I'm not mistaken. But I think the exciting thing is to see not only the management team who presented to us, but also the guys on the floor turning wrenches. The excitement and the electricity in there in terms of engaging in this process was fantastic, and I think I joked to a couple of them. It's the best reaction to a C- that I've ever seen, except for my 5th grader when he passed math. But it was inspiring in the fact that, number one, General Litchfield is enthused about our progress, and number two, and probably more importantly, the team of Robins is very enthused about the process and really making some progress there. So we're not there yet, obviously, and you know, it's not easy to go 120% for very long, but that's the target, I think, through first quarter of 15.
Through October, yeah.
And in an effort to get back on track. So a plan is in place, and hey, we're swinging as hard as we can here.
Absolutely. Just to tackle a couple of ongoing issues, encouragement, this community has responded immaculately to encouragement. Now, about 70% complete, according to Ms. Mathis and her team, and an estimated completion as early as 2015. So those not familiar, all that land on the north end of base was purchased up by the Central Georgia Joint Development Authority using monies from federal, state, and local municipalities to help acquire these lands to make sure we do not have any kind of encroachment issue. And again, the same thing with air quality. We had an attainment problem in Bibb County, which is on its way to being completely resolved. The EPA has sent a publication to the Federal Registry saying, please move Bibb County from non-attainment to attainment. And why is this great news? Well, again, this community was very aggressive through the Middle Georgia Clean Air Coalition, through air quality, and again, the Middle Georgia Regional Commission, Central Georgia Joint Development Authority have really taken that on and knocked that out of the park. Everybody put skin in the game, and the success is right there on the screen. And with that, these are the two things that can be very limiting when you're talking about bringing a new mission somewhere: encouragement and air quality. If they don't have the space, and if they don't have the air quality for whatever that weapon system might be, that's limiting. And so we have almost abolished those two issues. Next.
Chris, question real quick.
Yep.
On the encroachment, it's a 70% complete. This may be more of a Laura question. What does complete mean? Does that mean that the property has been acquired and owned by the Joint Development Authority? Does that mean it's being rezoned? What does complete mean?
Means acquired and in ownership of the Joint Development Authority. And in most cases, the easements have been issued with the right to the Department of Defense, and but not the rezoning yet. That's yet to come.
Another thing, public-private partnerships. That's 5 Ps, but they call it P4 for some reason. And what that is, legislation was put in place in the 13 National Defense Authorization Act that enabled partnerships between the base and the community. And this is something that was never done before. You always had to go through contracting methods if you wanted to have a relationship with the installation. Well, the DoD said, you know what, we're broke. So let's let the community help and let's partner where it makes sense. And again, part of that says it has to be mutually beneficial to both parties involved. And you can do things that are cost per, and again, we were one of 11 test bases to go through this process, which was overseen by the Secretary of the Air Force level and a contractor, where they came in and we had community meetings and we talked about, you know, here's the resources on base, here's our resources in the community, what are your needs, and here's what we can do. And bottom line, we've had some successes with that, but we can do so much more. And so I will talk about it in just a second, what Timothy Bridges said, which is installations and environment at the OSD level. And the sky's the limit with this. And so if you take anything out of here, I would say get creative. Brad, do you think you could cook for all the folks on Robins Air Force Base and feed all those troops in some capacity?
We'll figure it out.
Well,
yes,
exactly. Again, you don't think that everything is on the table now. You know, if you leave here with anything, leave here with knowing that the environment is so ripe right now for these partnerships. You know, not so much with private industry as of yet, but with public to public right now. City to city, municipality to base. You know, and again, private industry as well, third-party investments, enhanced use lease. They are salivating for these things. So really, put on your thinking. Who is it, Winston Churchill? We have no money, now we have to think. I mean, that's where we're at. Next slide, please.
Hey, Chrissy. Is there a list you think we can access that identifies what's already been done with P4?
Certainly.
Where would we get that?
Yep. I can touch base with are you talking about just Robins or all encompassing?
With Robins.
Okay, with Robins, I can get that to you this week. Absolutely. Yep.
Put in a plug that we're having a partnership forum next Tuesday over at the Merck Auditorium. That will answer that question.
Okay, perfect.
And the AIC sent out the invitation to all the members to attend.
So for the Robins Regional AIC, the partnership forum at Merck on what day?
Tuesday.
Next Tuesday.
Let's do it. But it's here at the museum. One thing different. That's Merck is Friday. The museum here next Tuesday morning.
Perfect. So we will. We'll push something out about that this weekend. So we know that with the defense budgets shrinking and the environment, which is facilitating all these partnerships, it's because the defense dollars are going away. And Mr. Wayne Lowe, thank you for being here, sir. And I need to highlight you.
I was attending another meeting downstairs until I found out.
It's convenient. We are blessed to have free rent space from Mr. Lowe every month. He supports the partnership by making sure we have a place to operate and we have a place to do our mission from. Mr. Lowe has been severely impacted over the last few years because he has directly supported contractors' requirements. And we have done very, very well at Robbins with the use of contractors. And you know, again, if you don't like the way it's going, just hold on and it'll change. And that's kind of the way it goes. And we've gone through a period over the last few years where we've had tremendous downsizing and cutting of government contractors, especially in the sequester environment. That's low-hanging fruit. That's first. And so with that happening, we have subterranean cuts, which means 5 here, 100 here, 200 here, 50 here, 6 here. So we don't really feel them, and it's not on the news because they don't pick up on them. But over time, we start to get 1,000 people, 1,500 people, 2,000 people. We've right-sized the ALC workforce by 1,500 people over the last few years. So those are folks that are not working. Either they're not working on base anymore, either they moved. Hopefully they found another job, but there's no guarantee because it's not like there's a big overabundance of jobs. So what can we do? Because again, we don't really have that information to know the specifics of who's lost where. So in comes the Office of Economic Adjustment. The Office of Economic Adjustment is a Department of Defense entity. They are congressionally funded to help communities like ours to offset either job loss. They have 2 focuses: to help communities that are over-reliant on defense dollars, and if they take a tremendous cut in jobs, to help them in that manner, or if they have an overabundance of defense reliance, they can help you work to diversify your economy, which was one of the things we said was very important in the future, working to diversify our economy, bringing in other things aside from defense to make sure we have a nice portfolio. On the 26th of June, OEA is going to come here and meet with some community folks in the partnership, and they're going to help us build a grant. Bottom line up front, they have $20 million that they need to spend before October 1st. And we would like them to spend some of that here. So how can they help? What are they going to do? Well, first, they can do a supply chain map so we can see where the money's coming in and where the money's going out. And then when we have a better understanding of that, we can hire somebody as a consultant to run this program, to collect data, to see where our money's coming in, to see where our money has gone. Okay, so if we've downsized by 1,000 sheet metal mechanics over the last year, what industry should we target to employ those people immediately? And I'll give you an example. 2013, Secretary of Defense said, Secretary Robert Gates at that point, he said, we're going to stand down Joint Forces Command. And Ms. Sue, you were probably at the Pentagon when that happened. So he said, we're going to stand down Joint Forces Command. So you're looking at 3,000 people, about 1,500 contractors, and a mix of civilian and military, the other 1,500. There was no BRAC. There was nothing that said, there was no defense. The Secretary of Defense said, you will close Joint Forces Command. And they're like, you can't do that. And they said, oh, yes, we can. And oh, yes, they did. OEA came in. So you've got a bunch of white-collar workers with 25 years of work experience, engineers with 2 master's degrees. They speak PhD. They're not going to go into a labor office to somebody that just graduated college and be able to say, this is what I'm looking for. So what did they do? OEA funded an office to be stood up within that county, and they nationally publicized it. They said, we have 1,000, white-collar engineers with this specialty. And they announced it to all the folks throughout the United States and said, we've got a big pool of applicants here. And so you know what they did? They basically act as a conduit and as a job finder for these 1,500 engineers and white-collar folks that would really have a difficult time trying to go find and seek out other employment. That's just one of the things that they can do. They can fund data, they can fund plans for us to have a long-term plan for the region to diversify. What industry are we right for? What can we go after? And again, this is using federal dollars to do this. So this is a great opportunity for us to help get on the road to diversification and making sure that we have long-term sustainability for Middle Georgia. Really quick, I was able to go to the Association of Defense Communities National Summit, and it's essentially speakers from the Secretary of Defense level, the Air Force level. They talk about the situation and what's happening. And I wanted to, we couldn't go through this meeting without talking about the B word. So, base realignment and closure. Most folks, again, they believe that's a bad word. And so, and I think this is hilarious. One of the summits, a view from the hill, so you had the Senate Armed Services Stafford and the House Armed Services Stafford, and you know what they said? We need to find a new word for BRAC. That word has such a negative connotation. We just need to find a new word so we can do it. So that's what they're thinking. So don't be surprised if in the emergence of time we do see a modification of some existing laws that will facilitate the downsizing of infrastructure throughout the Department of Defense. Now, no matter what they call it, a BRAC is still better than a non-BRAC. Period, point blank, no argument. When you look BRAC without a BRAC, it's a matter of when, not if. It's going to happen, and right now they're saying it's probably going to happen in 2017, but most likely, with the elections and everything, 19 will be the date. And that's what they said, point blank. And those were our congressional leaders. That wasn't military. The military folks and the administration have been pushing for BRAC for the last 3 years. So if Congress is finally going to say, all right, I give, then you know it's very likely on the horizon very quickly. Another funny comment